Hello, Ovation residents. Dan Double D Donuts here. As you know, some of us have started a neighborhood watch group in the Ovation community. And one of the first things I wanted to do was show you a little video about how you can better prevent burglaries to your residence. Now, some of you may know I spent almost 27 years in law enforcement, 8 of which was as a crime scene detective. So I've been to hundreds and hundreds of residential burglaries, commercial burglaries. There's some interesting things that I've learned, and I'm going to show you a way to help prevent those burglaries. So one of the biggest things that I learned in processing a lot of crime scenes was actually the construction of windows. Now, windows usually have a slider here with a lock on it. It can go left and right like this window, or they can go up and down. The houses I've been in go both ways. But the biggest thing that I realized was this lock right here is held on by a couple little wood screws, probably only a 1/4 inch, maybe 1/2 inch at the very longest. So this makes it a very susceptible point for burglars to get into your residence, because simply by using a flathead screwdriver or a flat bar, you can, on the outside of it, pry on the opposite side to push this open, and those screws will pop out, or this mechanism will break. And it's a very weak spot in the construction of windows. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a trick that really has been around for a long time. Primarily it's been used for sliding glass doors, which is fine, and it works there too, and I would recommend that. But we're really going to do that same thing for windows. So we're going to end up buying some dowel, like some closet rod dowel, and we're going to measure between here and here. Now in this particular window, it's got a cavity in there, so you got to make sure you measure into the cavity, because we're going to cut some dowel rods. They're going to fit in this space, and we want them to fit fairly snug, not completely where they're super tight, but where it's fairly snug. So I've gone around and I've measured the width for all my windows. I actually have 2 windows in the bathrooms that actually go up and down, so I measured those widths. But there's actually one other measurement you're going to need. And that measurement for this particular window is going to be the inside of this cavity right here. For mine, it's just maybe just an inch and an eighth, inch and 16th. So I'm going to end up buying some dowel rod, or I actually already have, that's slightly smaller than that, about 7/8 inch. And I've got that right here, which that's going to be cut to length to fit in that track. And then the second thing we're going to do, which isn't like important for its function, but important for aesthetics, which, you know, that's part of any equation, is I like to paint the dowel rod the color of the track that's inside your window here. So that way when it's in place, nobody really even notices it. So when you go to cut your dowel rods, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can do it by hand by simply using a hand saw, or you can use a compound miter saw, a circular saw. Either one of those are fine. In my case, I'll use the compound miter saw just because it's quicker and easier. But here's a pro tidbit about buying your dowel rods. When you buy your dowel rods, here's a trick that my dad showed me, is when you go to buy them, is you want to hold them, kind of close one eye and rotate them to see if there's much bend or bow in them. The ones that got some bow or bend in them, you don't want those, because those are going to be a little funky. Try to find the ones that are the straightest ones. So when it comes time for painting your dowel rods, a couple different ways you can do it. You can spray paint it, which is what I'm going to do this time, or you can hand paint them, which I've also done before. Both of them work perfectly fine. It's really just kind of what kind of setup you have in order to paint the dowel rods the easiest. So we've got our dowel rods painted now. This happens to be the one that fits in this window. And so I'll slide it in here, put it inside the cavity, and there's maybe 1/8 of an inch of little play there to make sure it fits in there good. If I unlock this window and try to pull on it, or if I was the burglar and tried to pry it open, it's not going to come open. The only way they're going to get through this window is if they break the glass, which I can tell you right now, generally speaking, burglars don't want to do, because burglars want to be able to get inside your residence, do what they're going to do, and get back out without being noticed. Breaking glass, obviously, is going to be noticed by all kinds of people. In addition to that, they may cut themselves, get some potential blood DNA. They may step on glass and leave some footwear evidence. So they really just don't want to do that. So that's the installation of the dowel rods. Now here's the other kind of really important thing that, at least in my mind, is important. The important part is that you actually have them in place. Sometimes people will do things like this and they do it 90% of the time, and then they don't, and then that 10% is the time that a burglar comes through and they get burglarized. So what you have to remember to do is to always have them in place. And I will tell you that on first floors, I always have these in place, even if the weather's nice, that kind of stuff. If it's daytime and I'm home, great, but at nighttime, they're gonna be shut and these things are gonna be put in place, and I'll check it every night. Second story residences, probably okay to leave a window open or undone, because I know, like in spring and fall, people like to have that fresh air coming in the house, and that's great. It's great sleeping weather. However, if you truly want to be protective, first floor has to be locked down each and every night, because that 1 out of 100 could be the night that a burglar does try to enter your residence. So thanks for watching, and I hope this helps. Thanks a lot.